Of all the British Crown's precious assortment, Catherine has consistently chosen just one tiara for the past year. What is it? Simple affection or something more? Statistics can't be fooled. In 11 years as British Duchess, we've only seen future Queen Kate wear 3 tiaras. The Cartier bridal, Gallo, is a strong statement from the wife of Prince William, giving hope that the diamond decoration will go to her casket from now on. Her Highness wore the lotus flower tiara twice, with it being her first white tie outing since her marriage, which happened during a traditional diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace in 2013. At the time, many thought the lotus blossom would become a favourite of the Duchess of Cambridge. The tiara is light and unobtrusive, just like a young woman with a great sense of style. In 2015, which was Catherine's next outing requiring a tiara, Her Highness wore it again to a state banquet in honor of China's first couple. But, as time has shown, neither the halo nor the lotus blossom have ever permanently settled in Catherine's jewelry box. Another jewel, the Queen Mary's tiara, popularly referred to as the knots of love, took their place. The Duchess of Cambridge first wore it to a diplomatic reception on December 8, 2015 and has never changed it for anything else since. Come to think of it, Catherine has attended 5 more such events in those 3 years, and all the time she's chosen the same tiara. When you do the math, the conclusion is obvious. On 6 of the 9 occasions the Duchess appeared at the knots, consistently, regularly and as if even demonstratively. But what exactly does Kate want to say with this choice? To answer that question, let's turn to a brief history of all 3 pieces of jewelry. So, the Gallo. This decoration was made in 1936 by Cartier and purchased by the Duke of York for his wife Elizabeth just before his elder brother's scandalous abdication. The Duchess of York eventually became queen and gained unfettered access to the magnificent Windsor treasury. This is why she hardly ever wore this elegant tiara. It was simply that it was soon replaced by a far more distinguished model. Elizabeth gave the tiara to her eldest daughter Elizabeth for her 18th birthday, but Lilibeth never quite managed to make the decoration stellar either. First, the world was recovering from the Second World War and there were few events with a white tie dress code for the royal family, and then Elizabeth herself became queen. The new monarchess began to regularly lend the jewelry to her younger sister, who, however, also soon replaced it with more interesting tiaras. Then, in the 70s, Gallo went to Anne. But here's the interesting thing. The royal princess also wore a tiara only in her youth, and when she got her own jewelry after marriage, she easily forgot about it. Then there is the lotus flower tiara, which also originally belonged to Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, but which eventually ended up being owned by her youngest daughter Margaret, who never parted with it throughout her life. In other words, this tiara, as Elizabeth's offspring grew up, simply left the main line of the dynasty. In 1992 it adorned the head of Margaret's daughter-in-law, Serena Stanhope, on her wedding day. And when the princess died, the tiara left the pages of the Royal Chronicle for a long time. Some even thought the lotus blossom had gone under the hammer, as had Her Highness's other jewels. But, as time has shown, the tiara did make its way back to the crown. The tiara is indeed beautiful, but given Princess Margaret's complicated fate and uneasy reputation, could Catherine have worn her iconic jewel for long? The answer is obvious. And then the Duchess of Cambridge has the knots of love, a tiara that immediately showed the world who the future Queen Catherine wishes to associate herself with. Which Windsor woman ever wore the halo and lotus flower? Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, Princess Margaret, Princess Anne, Serena Stanhope. And who were the owners of the knots? Here is the complete list: Queen Mary of Teck, Queen Elizabeth E and Princess Diana. This tiara was made in 1913 at the request of King George V's wife, who intended to replicate the tiara of her grandmother Augusta, Duchess of Cambridge, which is why the tiara is so often referred to as the Cambridge love knots. Queen Mary loved such designs. She even dismantled one of her old tiaras for the knots. The jewelry remained with her throughout her life and after her death went to her granddaughter Elizabeth, by then the new Queen of Great Britain. Her Majesty also wore the tiara, albeit reluctantly, although she eventually abandoned it in favor of other options. The fate of the knots is known to all. Its next owner was Princess Diana herself. The tiara with its dangling pearls proved to be almost her most recognizable piece of jewelry. The Princess of Wales herself, in her own words, was not a big fan of the decoration, as she was terribly annoyed by the sound of the pendants swinging. But convenience seems to have played the very last role here. The knots have irrevocably acquired a reputation as a tiara for young monarchs and heiresses. After all, let us not forget that one day the Queen of Men's Hearts was to become a queen quite real and legitimate, Charles's consort. Catherine as the next owner of the tiara, albeit with a favor from Elizabeth, was and remains the ideal option. Princess Diana's daughter-in-law and future queen, for the past few years, the Duchess of Cambridge has worn a piece of jewelry with both a touching and majestic history. Positive associations with Lady Di have helped Kate retain the nation's love so far. Plus, as numerous insiders and acquaintances of the couple admit, Prince William's wife does genuinely respect and honor her late mother-in-law. More importantly, however, Kate regularly and apparently exclusively wears the tiara, which in the past has only been worn by monarchs and one would-be queen. Characteristically, too, the Duchess didn't get the tiara right away, but after 2 more tiaras. The knots appeared on Catherine's head in late 2015, by which time Her Highness was already the mother of 2 children and had already begun to slowly but surely say goodbye to her reputation as a democratic princess rebel, establishing her image as a future monarch.